right. Welcome. I am Cool Hand Mike, and I am going to talk about Moonrider, Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. I completed a playthrough using the Glass Cannon chip. The Glass Cannon chip is a one-hit death chip. There's no canon part about it. You don't get any sort of benefits from it in terms of attack or anything. You just die in one hit. So let's begin. The first stage is quite easy. It's by far the easiest stage in this mode for a couple of reasons. One, it's really only half a stage. It's short, and there's one mini boss, and then I guess you can call the other one a mini boss too, since it's not really like a real proper boss like the other stages. But it's not too difficult to go through. If you can do this stage, it's not really that bad. There's lots of checkpoints. You get a lot of extra lives here and there. Not too bad. Now, what I'm going to start talking about while this is playing, this is really going to be like a commentary / review and kind of like a playthrough. But when you play this game, you're not going to play it like this normally, where you have to be so extremely cautious. Well, I like this game, and I think the game works very well on the default difficulty. However, on this mode, but I'm just calling it this mode, Glass Cannon mode, it really exposes a lot of issues in the game. When you have like a system, like a game, something like this, and you really start examining it and like pulling it apart, and in this type of mode, you can really see some of the issues while playing because you die like immediately, and then you examine, why did I die? Oh, well, I thought it worked this way, but it actually worked this way. So as I go through, you'll see some of these things. So Moonrider himself, when you play him, his moveset is pretty good. It's very similar to Shinobi 3, if you've ever played that. He has sword slashes, he has a run sword slash, he has a wall jump, he has a diagonal kick. In addition, he also has a down kick. And he can slash if you're crouching, slash if you're in the air. But Moonrider also has these specials. He can also equip these different chips. The Glass Cannon chip is one of the chips that you can do to do this kind of mode here. This stage, there's not a lot of difficult things about it, but there's a couple odd things you start to notice when doing it this mode, when you're cautious and moving back and forth, is that this game kind of plays in a way like Ninja Gaiden with the respawning of enemies. It doesn't happen all the time, but if you move back enough and then move right, enemies can reappear. In fact, if you're moving from right to left in a stage, like if you're all the way on the right, enemies will start like appearing as you're moving through the stage. They'll start appearing on the right side of the screen, which is kind of odd. This boss, he just make sure not to get hit by the lasers. Just jump in the middle. It's not too bad. Well, let me go back to the stages. Moonrider really, when he runs, I started to see an issue when I was playing this game. A lot of the times what's happening is that, let's say if you're playing Mega Man X or Shinobi 3 even, if you're running and you jump and you have that run speed, you expect to keep that run speed while in the air. Like, you can move left and right. But in this game, if you're moving if you're moving right while jumping, and then you press left or lift, like not pressing right all the time, basically left, or you lift your thumb up, his speed will go to like normal walking jump speed. And that is pretty detrimental. Usually you get hit or you die, or if you're not able to save yourself. It's not something I enjoyed having happen, because, you know, you die in one hit. You fall down, you die, get hit, you die, you bump into an enemy, you die. So, yeah, it wasn't too big of a fan of that. His run slash can parry bullets, just like his normal sword slash. However, you're not like invincible or anything, and there's also like a slight delay. It's like half a second after you pressed the attack while running when you can actually attack. So you can get some, you know, you'd think maybe you're doing it good, but you're not. It doesn't act like Shinobi 3 in the run slash. I keep referencing Shinobi 3 because I used to speedrun the game. And I TAS'd it as well, so pretty familiar with that one. What is good about the run slash, though, is that it has a pretty long range, and it has a pretty high up and down, like, hitbox. So you can pull some abuse with that, which is pretty good. Moonrider, you usually always see me holding the run button. This is another problem in the game. Like, if you're trying to do specific positioning, what I've noticed is that you can actually accidentally kill yourself, because you double tap and then you start running, and you can go off the ledge or bump into an enemy. And when I played the game normally, I didn't notice it. Like, it didn't bother me at all. I was just like, okay, whatever. But in this mode, you really do notice it. It really is a bit of a bear. It really needs like a toggle, really, really badly, if for this type of precise kind of playing. This stage, this dark portal, dark chaser level, it has a pretty tough mini boss here, but I chose it because I'm familiar with the boss, and I thought the boss was one of the easiest ones to do with the sword. Could be wrong, but I just thought it was one of the easier ones. But the mini boss was a little tough to get down. A lot of different moves. I don't think I mentioned, but I am using the MP chip in addition to that glass cannon chip for here. It helps, like, usually during like a boss battle or a mini boss battle, it usually can allow you to use the ability once or twice again, depending on, you know, how long the battle is, but usually they're very short. This mini boss has, you know, a couple different patterns. I would just play it safe. Just get in there when you can. And remember, it's in water, so everything is delayed. Not a fan of the water. It's quite frustrating. When you use that moon lance, or whatever it's called, you can hit multiple times, and the amount of damage, like to get the full hit in, you have to be quite close to the enemy hitbox, because it kind of like as it's striking, like the whole length goes into the enemy, and then you can get all the hits. If you're like far enough away, you may only get one hit on the enemy, which is one aspect of that move I'm not a fan of. But as a starting move, it's fine. The main hurdle for this run is to really beat a boss. Beat a boss and get an ability. Doesn't matter which one, just beat a boss. That's all you need to do. And then, all the levels will pretty much open up. Except for two. Two are an exception. When I get to them, I'll go over them and why they're a problem. But for now, that's like the main thing. If you can get a ability, it gives you way more options. And the game becomes much, much easier for this mode. Probably just for the game in general, really. Because your main special is very limited. It's slow. You're stuck in the position. It's not particularly powerful. It's strong, but it's not as strong. If you're using the sword and just slashing, it's really not that much stronger if you're just standing still mashing the attack button. But it does have a bit more range. So the trouble levels they'll come up in a little bit, but this level works well. It's a kind of level that you'd expect with the mechanics. It works well with the mechanics, even if I'm not particularly fan of the water liquid sections, but it works. Like, all you have to do is just make sure that you know where the enemies are and how to attack them. In here, I do get the Akujiku chip, because I wasn't completely sure of its effectiveness, but it sounded promising based on the description, where it's described as it does more damage the more enemies you kill, but that's not true. It doesn't really work like that, which I, find out later. But I go ahead and get it anyway. I was just kind of gathering chips that might be effective. But ultimately, the MP regen chip is pretty much the best. All of the HP chips are essentially useless on this mode because you die in one hit. The reborn chip I do get, that will save your life once in a stage. That's it. And it'll give you half health. And that could be very useful if you're having a lot of trouble on the boss itself, or on like one particular section and you just need that little extra push. And it would give you one extra hit for this mode. So you could possibly use that to work through a section if you're having trouble. But the MP regen was just much more effective for me. The Soul Eater might be very effective as well. I didn't end up getting that one either, because by that time I was like done and I already knew that I wanted the MP regen chip. The Soul Eater, when you kill an enemy, regens the MP. This boss is not too bad. That one little square area right off the center of the middle, if you're crouching there, you're pretty much never going to get hit, with the exception of her down, like, crushing move, that one. Otherwise, it's perfectly safe. You can down kick that arm, by the way, the one that's horizontal. So if you do get stuck trying to be a little aggressive on the boss, just down kick. You can bounce off of it as much as you like. And with this, I got the Dark Portal move, and it is very effective, and I like it a lot. I don't... Once I get the Geo Crusher move, though, it kind of replaces it for the most part, but I mean, Dark Portal works very well. Has good range, good damage. While it's attacking, you are free to move. Although there is some oddness with like a delay of input. Like when I use it and I want to crouch, you're almost like stuck there for like 2 or 3 seconds. Which I was not too much of a fan of, but it's not too bad though. It's fine. See, here I try the Akujiku chip. It's only like a temporary buff. That's all it does. And it's not like a giant buff either. I doubt if it would even last to the boss. Like, once you start killing enemies, it's just not as effective as I would have hoped. You can see I'm like killing some of these enemies in one hit here, but it doesn't last long. So I think it may be double damage. Like, look, it'll start going away soon. Once it like there, usually you have to hit them like 4 times or something. But I don't know. Maybe if someone really investigates it and tells me what it does. But overall, I wasn't noticing a gigantic difference in attack. So, Yeah, because I keep it on for the rest of the... see, it's already gone. So you notice that I had to hit twice. That wall jump is a little tricky with that electricity area on the wall, but it's not that bad. You can see I'm making use of that dark portal. It's best just to play it safe for some of these enemies. Just, you know, if you know the pattern and you have a safe way of attacking, just wait for the opening. Another issue that comes up here is the down kick. The down kick sounds amazing, and you'd think it would be, but unfortunately that's not quite how it works. Like, I mean, it's not as amazing as you'd think it would be. You'll see me like bouncing off guys with it occasionally, but it's pretty agonizing on this mode because the hitbox doesn't work right. It's too small. So when you're going down for it, what can happen is even though your sprites are overlapped, you can get hit while going down or on landing. That's the weird part. So even though you go straight from above to the ground and the enemy's not moving, once you land and I guess he goes to the standing position, you can get hit. And I really would like for them to, like the devs, to fix that. Because I think that's a real weakness. And it killed me a lot. I probably died, I don't know, 20 times? More than that? Just to that. Here, just when it tries to lock on you, just don't move, and then when he shoots, just slash with your sword. It's not hard, but if you move around, it locks on, and it'll shoot it sometimes in a bad direction for your sword, so you will miss the grenade, and then you get hit and die. Lasers aren't too bad, just run through. The lasers on the final level, on the other hand, are much more difficult because the timer on them is vastly reduced and there's more stuff going on. Here you can actually drop down, but on this mode it's not you really shouldn't. You can, but it's risky and I didn't even want to bother with that. And coming up is this other mini boss that kind of looks like something like that would be like a last boss. Very cool looking. Really, really like the graphics in this game. I think they're very strong. I missed the dark portal, I think like 2 or 3 times in this fight. But this boss isn't hard, or this mini boss isn't really hard. You just keep up the pressure and it'll go down eventually. It doesn't really have any tricky patterns, really. Just make sure that when it uses the blue flashy ball, just to be moving left, so that it just goes to your last position. That's the trickiest move. You'll notice that I've been keeping the like the failures, but like kind of like I'm showing deaths, but I'm only showing deaths where I'm actually progressing in the level. So here I do end up dying, I think, to a laser soon, but I keep it because it shows me getting up to the next checkpoint. I didn't want to do some weird editing because it wouldn't look right. And some of the stages I would get repeated game overs, so obviously no one wants to watch that. So I would remove those too. Some of the stages I found very challenging. This really wasn't one of them. Although I'm not really good at the boss without an ability. See, here I panicked. I thought the cannon had already targeted me. And I was like, oh no, I need to get out of there, but no. On that top part with those cannons, that's the main problem. You gotta make sure to take out the cannons, because while you're crouched, you really don't have any way of defending yourself. You would have to use iframes from some of the specials. So another really good thing to do when you get specials that really makes the game easier is that there are certain specials that give you iframes. Iframes are invincibility frames. So like, let's say you use a move and probably for 2 seconds or so, you will be able to not take any damage. So you gotta get the cannon. That's like the main problem of this, from here onward to this little section. You don't take out the cannons as fast as possible, you're gonna get hit and then you die. So the Dark Portal doesn't give you any iframes, but again, that level I thought was the easiest one that was available to me. Maybe once there's more guides or something, there'll be more exploits that are found, and some of the other levels would be considered more easy. But for me at this point, that level was the easiest. And this one I wanted because I want the Geo Crusher special ability. I want that, and I want it badly because it's amazing. I think it's like hands down probably the best special. That the water shurikens, or that's a very strong contender for being another awesome one. But you can see with the Dark Portal, he goes down pretty fast, pretty easy. I couldn't really get him down with no damage easily. I would like mess up, or sometimes he'd do the jump kick when I wasn't expecting it or something. So Dark Portal makes that whole section easier. So now that I got Geo Crusher, I'm feeling pretty good. But I originally had wanted to go to the water stage, and I was practicing it, and I got pretty far. But I was really struggling on the second part of the stage, the mini boss in the second part of the stage. Because on the second part of the water stage, it's just pretty hard. Now this part here, the biking, is really obnoxious on this mode. Extremely obnoxious. And let me explain why. 1, it will randomly lag. 2, the special sometimes misses because it's like a spiral. So there's no guarantee that your special will hit. But on the plus side, sometimes the special will hit 2 enemies at once, which is kind of odd, that are far apart. Because it's more, I guess it's more like 2 hits, like 2 consecutive shots. 3, there's a checkpoint that should exist right before the mini boss, but doesn't. And for the bikes, when they come out, their hitboxes are much larger than it would appear. And let me see. Was it the jumping like restricts your movement a lot, which I don't like. I'm not a fan of, because it's like literally only used to dodge a couple ground attacks, like these things, these tracks on the ground, and the mini boss attacks. Like there's a couple of them and they do some ground attacks. That's it. I died due to the bullet spray. Probably could have dodged that, but it seemed a little difficult there. And there's one thing that comes up that I despise in this level. It is awful, completely awful. There's a part where there's 3 bikers and they come at once. And they come at once while there's a turn. And it's very, very hard to get in between the bikes and not take a hit. To do that consistently, it's very hard. Well, at least I found it very difficult. I would get it maybe half the time. Another thing that I thought was odd, that I didn't like about this biking, is that a lot of the chips don't do anything. They're simply, they don't do it. They don't work. The Akujiku chip doesn't work. It's like outright crossed out, like there's like a cross on it. Ah, see, I died to that. I hate that part. It's awful. When the screen changes, you really are restricted in your movement. It's very difficult to dodge, and it's difficult to stay in a specific spot. You have to almost like be tapping it really rapidly. And you have to be already turning right before they appear almost. It's not easy. And as you can see, the special kind of randomly works or doesn't work on these bikers. Here I was just kind of messing around a little. I was just like, okay, whatever, I made it. So when you're trying to choose a chip that will work for this stage, the passive chips that increase health and MP, I think both work. The death chip works, obviously. But I don't think... the reborn chip does work. this part here is actually tricky. He'll be shooting, and then he'll shoot that thing down on the ground. So you have to be kind of... It's a little off. It's a little difficult to do. It's not too bad, but... I mean, you have to know it's there. Visually, it was a little hard for me to see. And that bike part was probably... That may be the hardest part of this entire run. Just that bike part. Just that part, that section. It probably took me an hour and a half to do it. I was not good at it. Very hard. There's another bike part later in the game. I think it's like the second to last level. There's one hard part on there too, where there's a lot of different enemies and they're shooting at you, but they don't all come at the same time. And that's the big difference. The bikers are staggered on that stage, along with the flying guys. So it's not incredibly difficult. It's just hard. It's not like that thing with the 3 bikes and you have to like stay in the lane while it's turning. No. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the bike levels. I don't like them. And they're long and kind of boring. And on this mode with the glass cannon, they're long, boring, and difficult, which is not a good combination. So I don't like that bike part. Here, the down kick, this was one of the parts that killed me a lot. If you like the hitboxes don't really align, but doing the down kick is so effective on those guys. So I couldn't resist. So I really had to be careful where I was placed. And when those guys jump, those mini boss guys jump, don't try and jump kick them because you will take damage. You don't bounce off properly. You just will take damage and die on the down kick. Not the diagonal kick. The down kick specifically. The diagonal kick works great. It's very consistent. I still think you would take a hit. You do take a hit though if you do it when they're bouncing, like jumping up on their second form. But you could see me using that Geo Crusher move, which is very, very effective in almost everything. But yeah, it works very well. And the Geo Crusher move has that odd, there's kind of like an odd horizontal pause when you do it if you're in the air, and you can maneuver left and right. So that's kind of it. That's a nice little add-on for it. It gives you a little extra time to maneuver it properly. Nothing hard here. It's just a lot of bouncing. Oh, that's one thing that I thought was a little strange with the wall bouncing. Come to think of it. The way I wall bounce is I just mash the button. Just keep mashing that button. Because it's not like Super Metroid where you have to like press into the wall or press it back or anything. No, you just when he's near the wall, he's just going to do the move. He'll be able to do another wall bounce. So if you have to do a lot of them, just keep mashing that button, that jump button. Yeah, this boss is not hard, no. And as you see, the Geo Crusher move crushes him very effectively. He doesn't die super fast because you have to try to get him into position. He seems to use the gun move, whatever that is, when you're far away from him when he's on the side. You only have to be careful of his two moves, where that one where he does the somersault and throws out 3 like bullets or whatever, or if he does the down kick and it shoots out the electricity along the floor. So just wait until he's vulnerable and go to town. I think the down kick works fairly well, but again, its positioning's pretty important with that move. It's a little bit too easy to use it and then just end up dying. His photon dash is extremely important for the water level, I found. There's a couple jumps that are quite questionable in it. I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to do it normally. Maybe you have to bounce off of enemies or do something with the mine, or maybe do like a wall jump. I'm not sure, but that's like in the second part of the stage. And while you can use the geocrusher and then make sure you can use iframes and then jump up from the pit, but you'll see later, I'll point it out. But that was a challenging part when I was testing, and I was like, okay, you know, this looks kind of hard. Here, this part, there's a couple parts in the game, but I really would like a look ability. Like in Sonic or Mega Man or whatever, when you are, like, you hold up or down and it will shift the screen so you can see what's below or above you. Because there's a couple parts on this level where I would really have liked to look down, but it's not there. I don't think that exists in this game at this point, if ever it will. One thing that is good in this game is that there are plenty of one-ups, for sure. Those things are quite hard. You basically have to be prepared for them already, those heads that shoot the balls. Because the shots move fast enough, so when you're in the water, you really can't avoid them unless maybe you're ducking and you're just luckily in the right position, or you already know the right position. So usually it works out to just be very aggressive to try and kill those or avoid them if you can. These guys, these tentacle-armed enemies, they're odd. I think their hitbox appears ahead of them before they actually fully extend their arms. Because I was trying to attack them normally, without using MP, but I was having some trouble with that. Like, I would think I would kill them, but, I would die, but the sprite would show them with their arm be above them. So I thought that was, could have been a little better. This mini boss, I'm not sure how to do this if you had to do sword only. Like, if you were to do, like, if this was like your first mini boss, I honestly don't know how you would do this with the glass cannon mode, like as a first stage without any other abilities, because those balls, they're like Metroid. Kind of like the fire balls of death. Here I messed up. I was going to do the geocrusher move, but I think I pressed it too late, or I had the wrong one on. But there's maybe something I'm missing. Like, normally this boss is incredibly easy. Like, one of the easiest bosses, or mini bosses. Because if you just stick yourself in the upper right corner, you can just go to town with jump kicks, and the thing will die in no time. But with the fire rings, you can't really do that without taking a hit. And on this mode, taking a hit means death. So, yeah. That's why this stage wasn't the second stage. Or the third stage after the Geocrusher. I instead went and got the phase move. Phase dash. See, that was one of the problems with I just... There's something weird with the running. I think I mentioned it before. Where, like, sometimes you'd be running, and then if you jump, you actually jump at the normal walking speed. And that happens every once in a while, and it's killed me quite a bit of times. But that happened just there. I just saved myself with the phase dash. There's some hidden one-ups, like that's a hidden one-up. The wall is fake. There's a cool one on the Flame Stalker stage. You'll see that at the end of that one, if you don't know about it already. See, I'm trying to make sure I have MP for the next part, because you kind of get ambushed by two fish. And while that doesn't sound very intimidating, on this mode it can be. Simply because of how the fish are. Without being able to get out of there quickly, you can get pincered, and they'll just like attack you. Here there was something weird with my controller. I think it disconnected. See, I'm like trying to attack, but it was jumping and attacking at the same time, even though I was pressing one button. So something messed up, but then I guess it just resolved itself. See, I tried to get past that as quick as I could. See, here's where you'll start to see some difficult jumps coming up soon. You can see I'm playing carefully by trying to kill a lot of those mines, the proximity mines. Oh wait, I get the hard jumps later. I didn't spend a lot of time learning this mini-boss. I just, figured it would just be faster for me to wait a couple more seconds for it to come around again and just keep using the Geocrusher. But I'm fairly certain this boss can be taken out in seconds. I try and wait here for a little bit so I can get at least one photon dash to save myself if something goes wrong. Because I do need to use it to get past this guy. Yeah, here, look at this fish behavior. Oh, that's so annoying. So when it dashes at you and you hit it, it instead just continues to do the dash even though you've hit it. When I would think, see, look, the run jump didn't quite work there properly. See, I'm just kind of waiting. Yeah, there's that fish. The fish should, in actuality, probably just stop dashing if you hit it. Not get hit, stop, dash forward a little bit. Like, and then maybe dash forward again until, either it dies or it completes the dash. There, I think I got lucky. That was very strange. Very weird looking. It just, like, popped onto screen. and kind of stop dashing at me. So here you can use the phase dash or whatever, just get across. But I think I end up getting the long sword chip here. Yeah, here the looking down would have been very helpful. Because later on I go down and you're not sure where the enemies are exactly. Yeah, I think I accidentally hit that thing. Right. Yeah, so you hit the little chain thing on the mine, it goes up, breaks the ceiling, and then you can see that long chip here. Or the long sword chip. I mean, you don't really even need to use the water here if you have the phase dash. You can just go up around and then go across. No, I had practiced this boss, but I had panicked. Because I would go around, jump off the wall, and then it would usually dodge everything. At least in the pattern I had gotten him in. But I think maybe I jumped too early. Or whatever was going on. So what I end up doing is I just use Geocrusher. It just works. It gives you lots of invincibility frames. It does a lot of damage. So yeah, very, very good move. There, it actually went into the bottom area, and if you ever go down there, it pumps you all the way. It bops you up all the way to the top of the screen. So I kind of meant to hit the platform, but instead I hit that. So that was kind of like a lucky end to that. Now the Hydro Shurikens here are very good. They do damage as they spin, like they waste when they do a hit. Either way, but when you use it, it will go out and it will kind of home. It doesn't work perfectly though, which kind of sucks. On certain mini bosses and bosses, it'll actually go to like the wrong target. And additionally to that, it seems to like lock onto sprites. Like not actual like enemy hitboxes, but like they're sprites. It doesn't work completely right all the time. Like there'll be a part like weirdness. Like I remember I had tried it on that mini boss on the Geocrusher stage, and what would happen would be that even though that chest gem part was locked off, even though it's not available to be hit, it would waste the Hydro Shuriken. It's like a bug. It doesn't interact properly as it should with the environment. So if you use it, make sure that the enemy that you're targeting is, well, there. And that it will kind of home in. As long as you're like, it goes sort of like if it's nearest to it. So try to place yourself near the target that you want to use it on. Here, the phase dash comes in handy too. Because go figure, for some reason it decided to not allow me to use the run dash. I was like doing the normal walk dash jump. Those blue ninja, I know it's kind of hard to see them because I'm going through it pretty quick here, but the blue ninjas are quite difficult sometimes. Because even if you're moving quickly through the stage, I noticed that they actually spawn pretty quickly off stage. And if you're moving towards them, what will happen is that sometimes, even though you're moving fast, like running, they can start throwing out shuriken at you. Or kunai or whatever. Those enemies are tough, actually. Those ones that block. They have a weird hitbox. If you try doing the down kick, you have to be very careful. And as you can see here, the phase dash was acting a little strange. I think I hit the bottom of the platform, so the ability went off, and it was like considered like I was just walking again or something. I don't know why it didn't do any damage. Yeah, here I was a bit tense for this, but I was more prepared than when I was doing the normal testing before. And I do die here. I think I positioned myself slightly to left. It must have been pixels, really. Yeah, those lasers aren't too bad to dodge. You just want to make sure that you're not too aggressive here, because this thing can just switch between using the little laser and the big laser. So if you're just trying to immediately jump over there to hit him in the head, you can just die. That's the main problem with that boss. That's it. The Hydro Shuriken here work quite well. They're good to get those guys out of that kind of area. And here you want the iframes, because it's very, very annoying to dodge that one right there. That one with those 3 that came down. I kept dying because I would try to adjust my position slightly left or slightly right, and instead I just run straight into the damn wall and die. So that's one of the reasons that really, like, situations that convinced me that there needs to be a double tap off. For people that love it, that's good. They can have it all they want. But, you know, if you're doing something precise like this, it's an irritant. It's an obstacle. Geocrusher crushing enemies still. I had tried messing with switching some of those abilities around to see if I could find some sort of easy glitch, but it looks like they locked down using, like, switching to other abilities pretty good. Like, if the dark portal is active, you can't like switch to another one and then immediately use another one to another ability while it's being used. I didn't test all the cases, but it seems pretty well locked down. Man, this part, oh my god, this part, it drove me half crazed. I hated this thing. I barely noticed this part playing it normally. Like I barely remembered it at all. But on this glass cannon mode, it's extremely difficult for bad reasons. The platform itself that you're standing on seems to be part of your hitbox. I noticed that you can take damage from below very easily. And I think it's really kind of unforgivable that the game will modify your position even though it's not a cutscene. Like here, like I'm trying to move, but the game was also just like it takes control of your character and moves you. And that happens on a couple spots where like you'll notice some odd resistance. Like here I'm not pressing anything. But like I'm shifting to the left, I'm shifting up, I'm shifting down. And here I'm shifting right and down and right again. So it's like trying to push me into the obstacles almost. I don't think the game is deliberately trying to kill me, but I'm like half convinced that it's trying to help you, but help you into the obstacles to kill you. And that one of the first obstacles, those spinning obstacles, just kind of spawns in. Very weird looking. That killed me, I think, a couple times because I wasn't really expecting it to just kind of appear. Usually objects, you kind of think of them as things that already exist in the game world and then appear. They don't typically just appear inside of the area and just hit you and kill you. So yeah, annoying. Dark Portal's quite good for here. Or the Hydro Shuriken. But the Hydro Shuriken can sometimes target parts of those mini bosses that aren't active, like the bottom or the top parts. And as you can see, I'm using the photon dash a lot to just get through these parts. Because like the game, as I was saying, like it moves you. Like, and additionally, those little grenades, they'll come at you at angles where your sword won't work. Like I noticed that they like almost deliberately put it so that they would collide into you. Very aggravating. These mini bosses are slightly challenging if you only have the moon spear, because you have to be so close. Yeah, on this part, I just use the photon dash always, every single attempt, because the game like moves you. It'll move you up and into the electric ceiling. I was like, why am I dying? I'm not pressing anything. Nope, it'll move you into it. Another reason to go down is that I think there's 2 1-ups on this route. Pretty sure. Well, at least one. I think there's only one, yeah. But here I'm taking it, being very careful and trying to regenerate my MP. It just, I was done playing around with this. I think I was stuck on this section for like an hour and a half. Another very long section that does not really fit well in the game. Because it's very obvious that they spent much more time perfecting the normal gameplay mechanics. Not this hovering around on the bike, this hover bike thing, or in like the city stage with the bike maps or whatever. Like the weird pseudo 3D view or whatever. It's pretty obvious. One thing I really do not like in this part is that you see that slope on the bottom right? If you're on the bottom and you press right, you won't naturally go up right along the slope. Like in a lot of games, you know, you press right, it's almost like you're walking up the slope, right? Well, here, if you press right when you're on the slope, you just get stuck on the slope. You don't move up right, you get stuck. So, of course, you know, I died to that a couple times because I was kind of like, what's going on? I should be dodging or at least moving out of the way, but I was actually just stuck. So. This boss is not really hard. Some of the moves, I think, they're kind of long, as in you have to be in the air a long time. Like I misjudge a jump, and then I die. Yeah, I jump a little bit too early. And also, the top of the screen, I noticed, you can't go above the screen. It's like a cage. Even though it looks like you should be able to go above the screen, you can't. There's like an invisible ceiling. Just something to note. So if you think you can try and, you know, do some wall jumping up high, just don't plan on it. You'll just hit it and, you know. But Geocrusher is very effective. So now the two hardest stages are gone. The Iwanaldo city and this airship area, I forget what it's called. Those are by far the hardest two sections. The bike section and that stage, the Iwanaldo, and that hover bike section on that airship. Those are the main roadblocks for any kind of challenge run in this game. Like with the glass cannon, because it just mechanically they aren't good. They look kind of good, but mechanically they're not. This stage I kept for last because it is probably the most demanding. Trying to do this stage without abilities is an exercise in agony. There's a lot of stuff going on in this stage. There's something interesting I liked about this is that shot from that mech in the background. If you are behind a ruin or like a wall or something, it won't be able to damage you. If you're in front of or behind or whatever a tree, it'll survive, I think, one shot. Then you'll take damage. So I thought that was kind of cool when I realized that. Dark Portal is pretty good here, but I think I end up dying. I do die, don't I? I think because I jump when I should have not jumped. I was probably quite close to killing him too. Yeah. One thing is that Geocrusher doesn't work very well on this form for this mini boss right here. But the Hydro Shurikens work very well. This next section it's a little tricky. Having the Geocrusher helps immensely, or having the Photon Dash. Either one of those. Because of that thing. You see that mechanical spike? That will make your life pretty miserable if you don't have iframes. Because I'm not really sure how to dodge it very well. I mean, maybe there's something easy. Maybe it's much more easy than I'm thinking. It probably is. I didn't really spend a huge amount of time without those types of abilities testing this. Just be patient on some of these parts. And just have a backup. Like the dash or the Hydro Shuriken or this Geocrusher. I'm just trying to make sure I have one use of something here. Which is good because, as you can see there, the jump didn't work as I thought it would. Again. So, you know, having that works pretty good. Being aggressive with a lot of enemies works very well. The run dash tends to kill almost everything. That's not a really tough enemy. I think there's maybe like the normal humanized sized enemies. I think there's maybe one or two that won't die from the run dash. Yeah, I don't really like how that flame slash kind of comes out. It kind of just appears and then it just kind of goes forward. You really have to anticipate it and already be jumping. Or just say screw it and just use this. Because I wasn't in any mood. I was already very irritated from the hover bike. Or the hover... I don't know what that is. That platform in that airship stage. Here you got to be careful to make sure you have enough room to do the jump when you're on the whatever that is. Because if you miss the jump, you have to be like enough far right there. If you miss the jump, there's really no recovering. Maybe you could use the photon dash and go to the wall, do a wall jump, and maybe recover that way. Yeah, that should work. But it's not like an easy recovery. One cool thing here at the end is that this is probably the easiest boss in terms of keeping it continue, because this last section here there's 2 continues that you can get again every time you die. What is this? Oh, Bloodlust. Don't need it. That has nothing to do with this glass cannon run. But I got it anyway. Yeah, just jump kick or dash, kill those guys. So here's the hidden one up. You just kind of stand in front of that guy smoking a hookah or whatever, and you get a one up. Yeah, I was thinking I was going to smoke him real quick, but I wanted some MP. Flamestalker is, he's kind of a cool boss. I kind of like him. It might be kind of fun to figure out how to fight him with the sword properly. Like sword only and jump kicks. But by the time you get to him, he's not an easy boss to get to. So you're going to have a lot of abilities already. Yeah, I make a mistake here. I didn't expect him to dash forward like that so quickly. Because usually they kind of dash forward right before hitting you and then try and slash hit you. But I guess on that second stage, he goes into the middle. Yeah. He has like almost like super armor there. Or at least like some sort of armor. One cool thing with that Geo Crusher is that it seems to interrupt certain abilities and you can use it. Like if you're doing like the down kick, you can use the Geo Crusher move. Or if you're doing the run slash, then you can use the Geo Crusher move in the middle. So that's neat. I like that. The flame ring is a pretty mediocre weapon. I don't think I've ever really used it for really anything. Yeah, it's like that airship boss's move. The airship boss's move is kind of like Storm Eagle's move, but it's really, really weak. It does go through obstacles, but it's really weak. The only kind of use I could think of is if you're really, really stuck on a mini-boss and you don't have any idea what to do, then you maybe could pull out that move. If you have like MP regen, you could abuse it. Just kind of stay away from a mini boss and just keep using it. That would be pretty much the only kind of case I would think. Looks like there's a little lag going on here in this bike. This bike, the bikes I don't like. They're long, they're boring, they're kind of hard. As I said before, but like the targeting is a little difficult. Like you think you could get some of these power-ups, but you have to be, I guess, at the right spot. But, you know, kind of looks like you are, but you're really not. Here you have to be kind of careful of those grenades. I've had it happen where one time I was trying, I didn't actually see it at all. Like I double checked in the video that I was recording, but the grenade does not show at all. But it exploded in front of me. Like it does that effect. But yeah, I did not see it in the air at all. It just exploded. So just be aware that can happen. Speaking of weird shots, I had something weird happen with one of those stationary soldiers on a different level. He was just kind of standing there, and he turned around, and his bullet went left, even though he was facing left down. Very weird. It killed me because I was kind of hiding underneath him, but his bullet went down left, even though he was facing, down right. So that was another kind of weird thing. Here, I'm like deliberately kind of forcing him to spin because the special missed, which I was not happy about. Yeah, the targeting I wish would be a little, I don't know. It's like if you move left or right, the targeting goes off here on the bike. Even though like you want to use a special. And it kind of looks visually like you're still locked on. Yeah, here I was trying to get over there, but I think I panicked and pressed the wrong button and jumped. That's the hardest part of this second stage. That section right there where there's a lot of bikers and those flying units. The mini boss pales in comparison. See, that's another thing. I don't really think this game was tested for something like the glass cannon. It's more like just kind of a... Yeah, look, it missed. It's irritating. But it doesn't really seem designed for it. Like, it wasn't really tested. I think it was just kind of a last-minute addition. Just kind of tossed in there. Because some of the sections, they're not... It didn't really work too well. Like the three bikers at the same time, that part with all those flyers and the bikes, it makes it for a very uneven experience. Yeah, the mini boss is not really anything to write home about. Now, the one thing that's hard about this duo space elevator is you just want to make sure that you're aggressive. That's the main thing. Just be very aggressive. Use your specials and try and kill guys as fast as possible. None of those drops give you MP, so essentially it's useless to try and get them on this mode. Yeah, Geo Crusher. Crushing it as always. Here I'm, try and do the run slash, but end up dying. I wasn't aggressive enough. You gotta be really ready to run slash that guy as soon as he appears. Yeah, those things that float down are really easy to dodge. And with moves that have iframes, it's basically hard to die to those things. It's almost like a waste of time for those things. I mean, they kind of look cool, but they're, I don't know. So one thing to note with the duo space elevator is that even if you get all the way to the end, there's no checkpoint for the mini boss. And it's a pretty long checkpoint. Yeah, the ones where there's 3 guys, they're the hardest. You could see me really abusing those invincibility frames. I do think it's very strange how none of those give you MP or energy. I'm pretty sure I went through and killed all of them and didn't get a single one of those. Maybe it's random? I don't know. This part's very inconsistent. Kind of an oddball mini boss. Because they can be pretty tricky or sometimes very passive, like here. Like they have other moves than just that shield move. Like they have like a homing missile, they have like that other thing that goes along the ground. But they do almost none of that. I don't know, maybe I was just lucky. Not really sure how that mini boss works exactly. And now for the last stage. The lasers I found pretty challenging. Some of them were more challenging than others. Like the frequency of them is increased quite a bit from the other stage, it seems. Like certain ones they'll give you like maybe 1 second to use them. Kind of looks like it seems much harder than on the other stage. Like was Laser Research Facility, I think was the other name of the level. But it's the last stage. You know, once you get through it, there's the final boss and we're done. You just go through here, jump kick the snipers. This sniper here is a little tricky. Just make sure to kill him. If you have the photon dash, this section's quite... it's much easier than without it. I'll say that for sure. See, that was kind of like an odd dash, but I'm not complaining. You were able to jump and get up there like that. Yeah, jump kicking, pretty good here. I used the dash for some invincibility frames because it looked like I was going to get shot. Yeah, almost got hit by that thing. Those enemies are weird. It's a little unpredictable how that spinning weapon of his acts after you kill him. So this mini boss is, well, kind of like the other ones. Goes down without much of a fuss. I think the only extra move that guy has is that jumping, spinning slash. I think that's it. And with Geo Crusher, it doesn't really matter. When you go to the next section, you have full health and MP. Yeah. I was expecting a bit more from the last boss in this game. But, I mean, he's cool enough, I guess. But I would have liked to have seen a little more. Yeah, run under there stupidly and die. The Geo Crusher move uses too much MP because of how much MP he has total. The Shuriken is much more cost efficient. Even if it does miss pretty frequently because of how he kind of moves around. But you can shoot it even though you're just running around and doing all this other stuff. And it has iframes right when you use it. So it's a very good ability, for sure. Ironically, it would have been my first choice, but then I realized how good the Geo Crusher was. So I really wanted to use that. See, I had iframes, and he just literally killed himself by running into me. Into the Hydro Shuriken. So, to sum it up, I think this game is quite good. Despite my complaints, my quite many complaints. But it's a good game. I would like for them to tweak some things, though, as I said. But overall, it's a good game. Visually, it's very good. It controls quite well, except for, you know, some of the jumps not working as I want them to, where it'll have like the walking speed jump. Some of the moves are kind of delayed, like you can't really move after using some of the specials. Like that time frame is pretty lengthy. The bike levels, I really wish they would cut those down maybe in half. There's a lot of wasted space and time in those sections. Maybe another checkpoint before the mini bosses. Some of the mini bosses don't have them. But yeah, the air bike, that section needs to be revamped. That like really, I did not like that at all. But cool bosses, cool game. I think the standard difficulty is a little too easy. Maybe if it has some other difficulties. This glass cannon mode is not really that fun. I don't really recommend it. But overall, pretty cool. I think I'll give it like a 8 out of 10. Worthwhile game to play. Thanks for watching.